The 4.2 banners were just announced. The banners will be as follows. In the first half, we'll be getting Furina and Baizhu, with Charlotte as one of the 4 stars. In the second half, we'll be getting Cyno and Ayato. Now, if you're watching this video, you likely fall under one of these 2 categories. 1. You're looking to pull in 4.2, but you're not too sure who to go for. Or 2. You're not going to be pulling for anyone in 4.2, but you're just interested in this video because of the hype for the new updates. Whatever the case may be, I've got you covered. In this video, I'm going to be going over who you should go for if you're looking to pull a character in this upcoming patch. While I will be making dedicated and more in-depth videos into these characters to see if they're worth pulling for you and your account's needs, this video aims to bring you a general sense of direction if you're confused on who to go for, or if you're just generally curious. So we're going to be going over a few things here. 1. A brief overview into the character and what their role is in a team, a pre-farming guide, and then potential team comps. Ready? Let's go. Furina is a 5-star Hydro Sword user. Since she's new, I can't go too much into detail, but let's talk about what we can. She is a support character as well as an off-field DPS. Her burst can increase the damage of characters, and Furina can summon things that deals hydro damage to enemies. So from what we know about Furina right now, pull for her if you need a support character who can heal, be an off-field hydro damage dealer, and buff your damage. Let's talk about artifacts. Furina could probably be ran with one of the following: 4-piece Golden Troop, or 2-piece Tenacity and 2-piece Heart of Depth. Stat-wise, she'll need this: HP Sands, HP or Hydro Damage Goblets, and Crit Hats, depending on what you need. It's pretty hard to say what her teams are right now, but considering she's an Archon, I'm sure she'll be pretty flexible. But in the meantime, here are some teams that may or may not work. Again, I will be able to provide more information in my dedicated Furina video, but for now, I'll try. Team 1 for beginner players: Furina, Lisa, Cole and Noelle. Team 2, a 4-star team: Furina, Yanfei, Xingqiu and Bennett. Team 3, a 5-star team: Furina, Yelan, Hu Tao and Zhongli. Charlotte is a 4-star Cryo Catalyst user, so already great if you missed Risley and you want a Cryo Catalyst. But also not really, because unlike Risley, she is a support. More specifically, she can heal her team through her burst, though you could try and build her as a sub DPS if you wanted to. Up to you. On a personal note, as someone who considers herself to be a hobbyist photographer, I absolutely love the photography theme of her kits. I want to main her just because of that, but I'm sidetracking. So just from this brief overview, pull for Charlotte if you want somebody who can apply cryo to enemies with their normal attacks, or you want a healer, or maybe a cryo sub DPS. Maybe. Let's start with artifacts. Charlotte could be ran with one of the following: 4-piece Tenacity, 4-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Gladiators and 2-piece Shimenawas, or 2-piece Gladiators and 2-piece Ocean Hued. Stat-wise, she'll need this: Energy Recharge Sands, Attack Goblets, or a Healing or Attack Hats. Again, since we actually haven't had the chance to play her in the game yet, it's hard to tell what her teams are going to be. But again, I'll try. Team 1 for beginner players: Charlotte, Kaya, Xiangling and Barber. Team 2, a 4-star team: Charlotte, Chongyun, Xingqiu and Sucrose. Team 3, a 5-star team: Charlotte, Furina, Nuviolette and Kazuha. Baizhu is a 5-star Dendro Catalyst user, so from this alone, he'll be a great person for Dendro application if you don't have Nahida. But let's continue. He works best as a support character, more specifically for healing and buffing his team. His elemental skill can provide powerful healing for his team, and his burst is great for off-field Dendro application. His shield will also be helpful if you don't want to get interrupted in battle or if you just suck at dodging. And of course, and as we said before, him being a catalyst means that he can provide constant Dendro application, which means that he can also drive Dendro reactions using his normal attacks. So just from this brief overview, pull for Baizhu if you need a Dendro driver, and or if you want someone who can provide shields, buffs and heals at the same time. Just note that his shield isn't that strong. Let's start with artifacts. Generally, Baizhu will be ran with one of the following. For a Dendro support build, he'll have 4-piece Deepwood, 2-piece Deepwood and 2-piece Tenacity, 2-piece Deepwood and 2-piece Emblem. For a full healer build, 4-piece Ocean Hued or 4-piece Noblesse. Stat-wise, he'll need this. For a Dendro driver build, EM on everything. For a DPS build, EM Sands, Dendro Goblets, and Crit Hat, depending on what you need. For a Dendro support, as well as a full healer build, HP on everything. Just note that for this build, he'll need energy recharge substats since he needs a lot of energy to be consistent. It's also recommended to have him at 50k HP. Materials wise, he'll need fungi drops and violet grass. Time to work your Chi-Chi guys. His talent books are the gold ones and he'll need the following bosses drops: Dendro Hyperstasis, Dendro Chicken, and the Iniquitous Lector. Baizhu is great in Dendro-oriented teams, with a good example of this being Hyperbloom teams. So for example's sake, let's go over some Hyperbloom team examples. Again, he isn't limited to just using these teams, he can work well in Bloom and Spread teams too, but I'll be going over way more in my dedicated Baizhu video, so subscribe for that. Team 1 for beginner players: Baizhu, Lisa, Barbara, and Animo Traveler. Team 2, 4-star team: Baizhu, Beidou, Xingqiu, and Sucrose. Team 3, a 5-star team: Baizhu, Cyno, Nahida, and Yelan. Ayato is a 5-star Hydro sword user. He works best as a Hydro DPS character. Ayato is able to hit high damage on both single targets and multiple targets at once. He is a great Hydro applicator, not just in terms of his elemental skill, but also in terms of his elemental burst. His elemental burst can not only support his teammates as well as himself, but it has a very large AoE. Additionally, his burst can increase the normal attacks of active characters that are in it. So pull for Ayato if you need a Hydro applicator, you need a Hydro DPS, you need someone who can buff normal attacks while the enemies are being applied with Hydro, or you need someone who can provide a large Hydro AoE. Let's start with artifacts. Generally, Ayato will be ran with one of the following: Echoes of an Offering, Heart Depth, Shiminawas, Gladiators, or Emblem. Stat-wise, he'll need the following: Attack Sand, Hydro Goblet, and Crit Hat, depending on what you need. If you want more uptime on his burst, you can also try replacing the attack sands with an energy recharge sands instead. Materials wise, he'll need handguards and sakura blooms. I know, handguards. His talent books are the elegance ones, and he'll need the following bosses drops: Hydro Hyperstasis and Raiden Shogun. Ayato is pretty flexible. Don't take that out of context. Ayato is pretty flexible because he can be ran as either a DPS or a support. He's also pretty flexible due to him being Hydro, so he can fit into a variety of teams that use Hydro, like Vape, Permafreeze, Bloom, and Taser comps. So let's go over a few. Some of Ayato's teams are, but of course not limited to: Team 1, beginner players: Ayato, Xiangling, Barbara, and Dendro Traveler. Team 2, 4-star team: Ayato, Dendro Traveler, Beidou, and Yao Yao. Team 3, a 5-star team: Ayato, Ayaka, Kazuha, and Kokomi. Cyno is a 5-star Electro Polearm user. He works best as a DPS. Cyno is an Electro character whose damage increases with Elemental Mastery, making him great for elemental reactions centered around Electro, like Electro Charge, Hyper Bloom, and Aggravates. While he is kind of difficult to build since he needs a good balance of attack, energy recharge, and Elemental Mastery, when you eventually get the right build, he's quick and easy to use. Plus, he makes for a fun burst DPS because his burst has a long uptime. So pull for Cyno if you need an Electro driver for Electro-centered elemental reactions, or you want an Electro burst DPS. Let's start with artifacts. Generally, Cyno will be ran with one of the following: Thundering Fury or Gilded Dreams. Stat-wise, he'll need this: EM Sands, Electro Goblet, and Crit Hat, depending on what you need. Materials-wise, he'll need scrolls and scarabs. His talent books are the Admonition ones, and he'll need the following bosses drops: the Electro Registine and Raiden Shogun. Like I said before, Cyno can be ran as a main DPS in many team comps that use electro-oriented reactions like Hyper Bloom, Aggravate, Electro Charge, and so on. So let's go over a few. Some of Cyno's teams are, but of course not limited to: Team 1, beginner players: Cyno, Dendro Traveler, Barbara, and Noelle. Team 2, 4 stars: Cyno, Fischl, Cookie Shinobu, and Kole. Team 3, 5 stars: Cyno, Raiden Shogun, Nahida, and Kazuha. Like I said, I will be going over these characters in far more depth when I release individual videos on each one of them. For reference on what they're gonna look like, check out my Risley or Hu Tao videos that I made for patch 4.1. But for now, I want to know your thoughts. Will you be pulling for anyone in 4.2, or are you saving for someone? Thanks for watching, follow my Instagram, join my Discord, and comment this bird emoji. Peace!